Hi, welcome to the latest edition of the Employco HR podcast. I'm Rob Wilson, and with me is my brother and partner, Scott Wilson.
Hello.
Our Vice President of HR, Jason Eisenhut.
Hi, everyone.
And Nikki Navarro working the board as usual. And this week we've got a couple of special guests with us, Griffen Wilson and Pat Dempsey, that was just finishing their internship. So the topic this week is internship programs. So and based on some feedback, one of our listeners had emailed us or sent something out on Twitter.
It was a great idea.
Yes.
So the topic is internship programs within your company, the do's and don'ts, benefits. So. Jason, want to take us through what the goals of your typical internship programs?
So unlike 2, 3, 5, 10 years ago, even beyond, internships are now no longer the go for making copies and filing things for employers. It's really meant to give an educational opportunity to the student worker. So it could involve a lot of different things and true projects, true opportunity for the person to learn something in your work environment. But the goal is different than...
Say 30 years ago, painting an office in an office building. Sounds familiar to me.
Hey, intern, please do this.
Right.
But yeah, the goal is really meant to provide an educational opportunity for the worker. So oftentimes it provides credit in that the student has to bring some kind of a description back to their college to what they did, what they accomplished in order to get the college credit.
Right, and most colleges today are providing college credit for successful internship programs, where you can prove that from the company you worked for that you did an internship and you received college credit. There's a lot of benefits to the employers on internship programs today, and like Scott said, it's not just cutting the grass and painting the buildings, but it's an opportunity to bring in college kids and capture new ideas and knowledge that you might not be exposed to.
And yeah, definitely new ideas coming into your office where it could be things that are the latest trend as far as from they learn in classes to projects and things that if you're in the same office environment and you don't have a lot of younger people with new ideas, you get to have this stale work environment. So I think it's one of the best things to make it a productive as possible internship.
Right, definitely an opportunity for fresh perspectives, and you've got the next generation in, so it's a great opportunity. And for a company, as you're going through the process, as you're designing your program, looking at what your goals are and what you want to accomplish as a company. It's not just providing a job, but also a job fulfilling a need that you might have as an organization.
Yeah, it's a great way for companies and employees. It's a win-win for really both sides. The company gets a fresh perspective, gets a good person, gets a look at potential future candidates. After post-graduation, they might actually consider hiring the person, and usually it's around 20 to 30% of interns actually get hired by the company after they intern. So it truly is a nice kind of benefit for both sides.
Right. So let's, for someone that hasn't done an internship program before, let's talk about the pre-internship from a company standpoint. How do you go about it? What is your advice?
Try and structure it as much as possible and start early. So even if the hiring process, maybe creating the job ad, the job responsibilities is 2 to 3 months before the kind of the May hiring season or when the summer break starts, start it even before that. Start with your leadership team. Who wants an internship? Who's really, as a manager, can be committed to it? Meeting regularly with the intern. What are your goals as a company? What should that position look like? What kind of training will the person have? You're going to have more than one intern and create group activities and projects. Start early and then kind of go from there.
So as a company as a whole, do you, as you look at your internship needs, do you look at for your different departments to more or less give you the HR department? Do you want proposals from different departments saying, this is the type of person I need and the goals that I want to accomplish this year?
I think that's great. I think the best way is for the manager almost to apply, to get a requisition for them to hire the intern. So if it's almost forced upon someone or if it's just trying to get some extra work done, that won't be as successful as a manager who's really into it for bettering the intern and bettering their department.
Right, and you have to look at company budgets too, because the days of the free internship, all of the interns today should be paid.
Yeah, very slim set of reasons. It's a very narrow margin of when employers can do unpaid internships. So by far, we recommend that you pay all of your interns.
Right. So you are looking from a company budget standpoint. You're looking at your salaries and wages and and where do you have room? Maybe the company can only afford one intern, or you can multiple. So it's a good. I love the proposal idea because that gives companies different divisions to see who's more organized. So you want to hire the right intern, but a little competition among departments isn't bad as well.
Definitely. For us, one of our interns for our accounting department, we started working on that in February. Interviewed the person in March, and then they ended up starting, around the end of May, beginning of June, and it's worked out well.
Great. So now, as we move from you've organized, you've gone out, you're probably interviewing the people, the interns over spring break, either phone, video, Skype, Zoom, and you narrow it down, and they start. Typically, that internship's going to start in most colleges. You're out in May, so it's going to your internship's going to start in May, and probably run until August 1st or first week of August, because kids are going back to college. A lot of kids are already back now. Today's
August 13th,
right?
Yeah.
So you really want to maximize it. So let's talk about during the internship. So with us is Pat and Bob, Bob/Griffen, who they just
how's it going?
They just completed their internships, and let's get some feedback from you guys. Pat, you've had a couple of different internships. We were talking about being structured. You had a very successful one that was structured. You had an unsuccessful one where there was no structure. So let's hear from you guys of what your thoughts were on internships.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely upsides to both structured and unstructured. Longer-term internships that are unstructured were beneficial to me because it allowed me to kind of find where I could find pockets of value to add to the company. I recently just went on a 10-week internship that was very much structured. The calendar was packed every day, different learning opportunities. Inside the company, there were mentors that we had assigned to us, so there were people that we constantly were able to receive feedback from, provide feedback to, and we constantly had that communication going. So that was definitely a benefit to that one. But like I said, there were benefits to the unstructured opportunity I had. It was just a longer term. It was over the course of 2 years while I was at school.
And so now, you guys are both seniors in college, or entering your senior year. Did you see a difference between your going into the internship this past summer versus the previous summer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're more well aware of the environment you want to experience and potentially have a career in. Before going in, you didn't really know how X organization worked. Or what job skills you needed. So you really learn what to do and definitely what not to do for future work experiences, whether you're a generalist or a specialist or you're just a low-level analyst or whatever.
I'd imagine if you're fortunate enough to have an internship in the field that you want to get into, it helps you maybe pinpoint either types of companies or types of specialty areas in your line of business. So it kind of gives you an idea of what you want to focus on and target after you graduate, what kind of a company you want to work for or position? Yeah,
it's definitely beneficial working with a company that you're passionate about and you're actually interested about because you pay more attention to it instead of, I'm going to intern in Y, but I don't really like it, so I'm going to show up a little late. I'm going to take longer bathroom breaks. I'm going to take a longer lunch. I'm going to take an afternoon break. Instead of an intern who's passionate about where they're working, they actually will get there early, they stay late. Their due diligence is good. They complete all the tasks on time, and there's never really any HR headaches that you have to deal with.
Summer jobs are always good for college students to get an opportunity to make some money. But when you can do something in the field that you're looking into, it's got to help you as you look towards a year from now. You guys are college graduates,
and I think, going on with what Jason had said earlier, the more planning you can do ahead of time, the more beneficial it will not only be for the intern, but also the company. And it might end up being that your company finds out that it has a hole in an area that should have been filled before, that internship could definitely lead into a future job.
Right.
So give us some examples of, you don't have to go into great details, but some of the things that you guys liked about this summer of your internship, maybe a couple of jobs or duties where you definitely felt you're adding value.
All right, Pat, take it away.
Yeah, so I had a very varied experience over the summer, so I was able to rotate through different business functions at my internship. So one of the things I was able to do was actually beta test a new algorithm that scraped some documents, which seemed like busy work, but at the same time, I read through over 200 documents and was able to actually prove that the scraping tool worked for the purposes that we had it for. And I learned a lot about the legal language behind some of the products that we were selling. Another thing we did was I received a project. The desk I was working for at the company had a lot of people out, so they said we need a document produced saying if someone's buying a certain currency, how are you going to hedge that? And they let me just free reign do it, and then I came back with some feedback, and then I would go back and do it again. So things like that were really cool, where I was able to have an actual tangible project to hand in that the company was able to use. That was a lot of fun.
Great.
Yeah, from my end, with the company that I had internship with, they gave me the ability to travel with them to different trade show organizations to see firsthand experience on the trade show floor of what they do and how they interact with their employers and employees. And it was definitely a real world experience, just not sitting in a desk and filing. You actually get to experience and interact with your clients and really see how the type of business that you're in functions.
Great. And so, and Pat, you received a job offer then. So, when does internships pay off? That's a great opportunity for interns. One, it's like demoing a car. You just work for somebody for the summer. Is it a fit for you? Is it a fit for them? And in the long range goals, if you plan your internship as we talked about planning as a company, but as you plan as a student to look at.
Good point.
Let's find as a student, going into you're midway through your junior year or earlier in your junior year, you start targeting companies that you want. So how far in advance do you start looking at for our listeners out here that have kids or listeners that are in college, you're starting your junior year right now. When do you start looking for and putting thought on to what you want to do as an intern?
Yeah, so I had 2 or 3 different experiences with that. The timelines for me started, my first internship started in the spring. It was 2 months beforehand, so I guess March was when I started interviewing, but I was targeting beforehand. This past summer, actually, I received my offer a year in advance to come work for the company.
Wow.
It was a pushed-up timeline. Some companies in major metros do that now, depending on the industry. So I was planning almost during my sophomore year for what I was going to be doing this past summer. So that has to be taken into account when you start looking into industries that you might think about interning for.
So if you're going into your junior year, get on it. If you're in in an urban area, right, more or less,
highly competitive,
and give it give some thought of what do you want to do. I know it's hard as a college student. What do you want to do post graduation? What type of company do I want to work for, and really start targeting. And that your guidance counselors at your universities may or may not be able to help. I mean, some of this is on you as students to find that company.
Yeah, especially now, people don't really use guidance counselors at universities. They just go on their own. There's LinkedIn and Facebook, and you just network, and you meet other like-minded individuals. So if you're working for, say, in New York, and you want to meet other people in your industry, you hop on LinkedIn and Google accounting or finance, and thousands of things pop up, and you just network and create relationships with people that like to do what you like to do, and they just open doors. And having different opportunities each summer and having a good experience with your coordinators and your bosses, they definitely will leave a good word for you if you need a recommendation for the future after college.
Good point.
So start planning now if you're a junior and want to work in a metropolitan area or a large company. Obviously, I think your larger companies are much more structured than your smaller entrepreneurial companies.
And not to put you on the spot, Jason, but as from a employer standpoint, when an internship ends, is that intern eligible if they're there over the 30 days, say in Illinois? Are they eligible for unemployment?
Yes, and also like health insurance. So what employers have done many years ago is, well, it's just an intern, it's a short-term opportunity. So now with Affordable Care Act, the longest you can go without offering an intern health insurance is 90 days. So if an intern is really there 90 days or more, they should be offered health insurance just like your regular full-time employees.
Even if they're on their parents'
Right.
insurance and things.
Yeah, they should be offered it, but they could decline it or
Gotcha.
waive it.
Right. So so if you're starting May 5th or so, or second week of May, you're looking at 90 days, which in most cases by at the end of that 90 days you're going back to school.
Right.
But that's actually a great question, Scott, on unemployment.
Yeah, this was great
Yeah,
answer.
Right. Yeah, something for employers to watch out for. And they can contact us at any time at hr@employco.com or 630-920-0000 and ask us the kind of questions that we can help answer those for, but depending on the type of business and state you're in.
Yeah.
So I know we here at Employco for our internships we do a wrap up at the end of summer. We we look for feedback from the interns. And we want to get an evaluation of what they think about us as a company and their job. And it's a great opportunity for us to no different than when someone quits your organization or you fire somebody, you ideally want some type of exit interview. So the more we can learn from our interns, the better the program will be next year.
Yeah, it should almost be a two-way conversation with interns because usually it's probably not ending on a bad note. They have to go back to school. It's not someone's quitting or being fired. So it should be a two-way conversation where you're asking for their feedback. What can we do better? What did you notice? What did you get out of it? Did you notice any processes or services that we could do better? And then obviously we could provide feedback to the intern to say, here's what we've noticed on the internship. Here's some things to work on maybe during the school year, that things that we thought you did really well, things that could be improved. And so that two-way conversation is really helpful during the exit interview with the intern.
So throw it back to the guys, to Griffen and Pat. One of you guys worked for a very, very large company. One worked for an entrepreneur company. How were you asked for feedback as you're wrapping up for at the end of your internship?
Yeah, so during this past internship, I actually had 3 rounds of feedback built in throughout the summer that were formalized conversations with HR managers and anybody who had a stake in what I was doing for the company, which was extremely valuable to know that I was doing a certain thing right during the internship early on, rather than just find out at the end that they really didn't like me and that I could have improved things earlier. Because past experiences have been there's just an exit interview, and after 10 weeks, one session of feedback in such a short amount of time, because you don't really have that much time to make yourself known or provide value, wasn't super beneficial. So being able to have those conversations in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end was great. And also to remember that this is an interview for you, and an interview, you're almost interviewing the company as well. So that having those conversations and being able to provide feedback was really valuable for me.
Yeah, you're test driving the car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on my end, working for an entrepreneurial company, you really get to work with the boss and the vice presidents of different departments, and you really get to, it's not just an intern's at a desk. I really got to work firsthand with my boss and their boss. And they gave me feedback periodically, not just, oh, your internship is over.
So as you're both talking, so Griffen mentioning ongoing communication, very similar to what we would recommend or what we see internally as Jason, as we advise several hundred companies across the country, ongoing communication is key.
Yeah, and employee engagement is really important nowadays. You can't just have that guy slacking off in the corner and another guy who is excellent in his job, but they both get dual credit. You kind of have to, nowadays, you kind of have to be that big rock, be like, this guy needs to step up, or you need to do something about it.
And it can be a mixture of the feedback, ongoing feedback could be structured weekly meetings every Friday at 2 o'clock. We're going to go over some bullet points. It could also be the informal feedback, just a quick conversation in the hallway, how things went, how did the project go, do you have any questions, are there any obstacles you're running into? So the combination of the formal and informal feedback, as long as it's ongoing and repetitive, that's the best way to go.
Yeah, I would just say keep the conversations going within your peers and your bosses.
Great.
Thanks for having us on.
You guys are officially our first guests.
First guests on the podcast.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yep.
So we've
Balloons are falling from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Confetti.
Yeah.
We've got a couple other guests lined up over the next over the coming month or two, that people that have reached out to us that want to be on the show. So and appreciate everybody listening.
And keep those suggestions coming. And you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter @EmployCo, and then we've got the website. And then you can always send questions in
to hr@employco.com.
We love those questions.
Yeah, and that's where this
suggestions.
And this podcast came out of a listener suggestion, so we appreciate it. We've had 3 or 4 of our podcasts now have come from listener suggestions, so we love the feedback. And this one went a little longer. We try and keep our podcast down to about 15 minutes or so, but
occasion
went a little over. So
a little over, which is fine.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you for listening, and guys, good luck with your senior year in college.
Guys.
We'll see you next month.